Hello everybody and welcome back to On the Mission Trail. I am Miranda and this is Cesar, and today we're going to be discussing Roma.
Roma is a movie produced by Netflix and directed by Alfonso Cuarón.
So if you don't know, this movie takes place in 1970 to 1971 Mexico City in the neighborhood Roma. Our main character, Cleo, is a housemaid for a wealthier family. I believe the husband's a doctor.
I don't know what the wife does.
I think she's just a housewife.
Just a housewife, right?
Yeah.
Stay-at-home mother
Mm-hmm.
with 4 insane children.
Yeah. This movie's a really good look into how Mexico looks and how it feels. It's so real, it's insane.
It was crazy. There was so many points throughout the movie where they would show certain scenes. There was one especially where it was just kind of a shot of the ground, and there was 2 popped soccer balls and just some trash and stuff laying around and, and an exposed brick wall. I was like, oh my god, that's actually my grandma's house.
It's such a visceral feeling.
Yeah.
I feel like I could smell it.
Yeah.
I could smell.
I could smell it. I remember how it smells from a lot of the shots. I was like, oh my god, not this again.
Yeah. So I feel like if you kind of grew up in Mexico, or if you grew up going to Mexico regularly, you would definitely relate a lot to this movie, and it connects a lot because a lot of the movie takes place in Mexico City, which is it's the biggest city in Mexico, I believe. So it's a metropolis. There's a lot of people running around and stuff, but then it also kind of goes back to you were saying to the villages. That is one of the main selling points of the movie, I would say, is the setting and how real it felt. This whole movie, I don't think we mentioned earlier, is shot completely in black and white.
Yeah, I love me some black and white.
So there's a lot of really cool contrasting shots. And this movie is very reminiscent of the 70s because almost every shot is just a wide and a slow pan.
I don't think there's a single bit of handheld, which is something I really, really hated about Bird Box at several points. When there was an intense scene or an action scene, is that there's no cutting. There's no rapid sequences of just cutting to a ton of different angles. There's no shaky handheld stuff to I guess try to accentuate the drama and the action of the scene, which really just makes it worse to me.
Yeah.
I'd always, there's not a single occasion in which there's been an action scene where I'm like, man, I wish this was handheld and shaky. I always just want to look at it, dude. Just let me see your movie.
Well, this movie's beautiful. That's why it's
really beautiful.
Letting you see it.
That's one of the biggest selling points for this movie, I think, would be is that it's a really nice change of pace and it's very, very aesthetically pleasing. Yeah, I just love black and white. It's super nice.
Because it does take place in 1970 Mexico, it does touch on the student massacres that happened during that time, and it's so graphic.
Some of the scenes are pretty brutal.
We won't spoil the movie for you, but it does get very intense. I think sound is so crucial in this movie, and the way that they utilize sound, they don't really show you how terrible it is, but you could hear it.
Yeah, a lot of times it's more heard. This movie has a lot of nice subtlety in it, as opposed to just how a lot of times in contemporary action movies, when something's about to happen, the music really kicks up and it's just
Yeah.
And with this one, it's not like that.
I don't even remember very much music playing.
Yeah.
It's more coincidental background music. This movie just literally feels like you're looking into a window.
Oh yeah, I remember that actually from the opening. That was really nice. I was just, it feels like it's not even really part of the soundtrack. It's just kind of they have music playing in the world. Going
back to how realistic it felt, from the sound to the visuals to the dialogue, everything just felt like a natural conversation. And I think that that's what really helped you connect the character, connect yourself to the character.
Yeah.
Because you would think that it's a maid from the 70s, how would I connect with her?
Yeah, that was pretty well before her time, 20 years.
Yeah.
More than 20 years.
Yeah, I feel like the time period wasn't too crucial, except for the part where they had the student massacre. But other than...
That was the only time-sensitive thing, I believe.
Yeah, everything else just felt timeless in the movie. And even then, when we were watching the movie, we didn't really... I had to look up later about the the student massacre.
Yeah, because I don't think either of us really know that much about Mexican history. So while we were watching the movie, we were like, what are these like gigantic riots going on?
Yeah, we're like, is this kind of normal? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, so that was weird. That there was like this huge event. We had no idea what it was, but yeah.
I was still able to feel the gravity of the event though,
Yeah, you could still
through the
tell that
movie.
it was a pretty serious thing. We knew because there was a line in there that said like, oh, I hope they don't beat the students again. We were like, what again? Like, how often does this happen?
That's kind of another thing where you could get context clues from the movie of what's happening around you.
Yeah, it's not like, hey, in case you're just tuning in, here's what's happening. Like, yeah, it's really well paced. You thought it was kind of slow.
I feel like a lot of audiences would find this movie a little bit more
Probably
more slower.
Almost everybody would see that kind of as a negative, and they would think that it's somewhat slow. But I like that. I generally like movies that are slower.
Mm-hmm. It is
Just,
2
it's a
hours and
preference.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
So it is a pretty long movie, but
Yeah.
honestly, I think that it's something that you could get lost in. I really like that the movie always kind of goes back from previous scenes in very, very subtle ways. Like, I don't want to spoil any of them for you, but
there's like a handful of really well done like omens
yeah.
where the characters like do a certain thing or they say a certain thing, and then something happens there that's like, oh my god, this thing's gonna happen in the future. Which all of those are like super well shot, I have to say.
Like the first hospital scene, and then like the ending of that, and then the last hospital scene, and you're just like, oh, like,
And the scene
it hurts your heart. I
Yeah,
cried.
it was really sad.
Honestly, I cried.
We both got like really emotional towards the ending of it.
Yeah.
It was like really sad. That's probably one of the saddest movies I've ever seen, just because of that scene.
And the thing about that scene was it was just static. There was no cutting, just one shot.
That was probably one of my favorite things about it. I think that really let it sink in that much more, because it wasn't like, oh, close up to how sad she is, like, oh, look at her face, look at the doctors, look at all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It was just like, here's what's happening, and you feel like you're in the room. It's almost all wide shot. There's only like a handful of close-ups.
The close-ups are used very sparingly, but they're very powerful when they are used.
That makes them that much more impactful, I believe.
Yeah, everything else is just, like we were saying, the camera person was just like one guy like with a tripod like doing this the whole time.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you know, I have like this rig, or like, oh, I'm really good at like tracking them, or we can do like aerial shots or whatever. It's like, no, I'll just have this tripod and like a little pan bar.
Yeah.
I'm good with that, because that was all the shots. There wasn't anything besides that.
No.
But it was nice. It worked really well for it. Is there anything that you especially liked about the movie?
I really, really liked the sound and how immersive the whole movie was. It was just like the whole package.
There was a whole scene dedicated to just the sound, where the main actress is saying like, oh, this place reminds me of my hometown. Like, it smells like it and it sounds like it, and then she's just kind of like taking it in, and it pans off to the side to show the landscape, and it's just a little bit of the sound for a bit, and that was really nice.
Did you dislike anything from the movie?
I don't think I really disliked anything. All the actors did a really good job of playing their part.
Yeah, the acting overall is really great in this movie. I think if the acting wasn't good, then this movie would have just like
'Cause that's what
fell
carries the
apart.
whole thing.
Yeah, like how believable the actors are and how much it feels like you're there.
Because a lot of times it does feel like you're just standing there, sitting there with the characters. So would you recommend Roma?
I would recommend Roma definitely for anybody, really, especially if you're looking for more of a character piece with like a lot of really good world building. I would recommend it specifically for anybody that's ever grown up in Mexico or has visited Mexico at any point in their lives and you really want to kind of like live those like memories and feelings. Would you recommend Roma?
I would also very much recommend it, especially if you're looking for a movie that's kind of a slower pace. It takes its time to really develop the world. Yeah, everything's really well done. I would give it like a solid 8 out of 10.
I would give it like an 8 or an 8.5 out of 10.
Really nice change of pace. Definitely recommend it over Bird Box if you're gonna watch a Netflix original movie.
Thank you guys so much for watching our review of Roma. This has been Cesar and Miranda on the Mission Trail, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.